as you were saying, right, the global north sort of tries to focus on itself. It tends to try to just like, okay, we're going to keep all of our resources, even though we could be focusing on the global south, and they don't emit that much. So it's sort of an easy win to help them with reforestation, to help them with green initiatives, but they sort of just tend towards wanting to stay in their own circles.
Through various actions by climate activists, we are trying to reduce greenhouse gas emission because of the 1.5 degrees Celsius target that we all want to reach. Because we believe that once the environment is restored, it's something that is going to benefit not only Ghanaians but the whole global world. So that is something that we are also trying to explore.
Certainly, creating a warm and engaging introduction for your podcast, consider Great Tell Me as a suggestion that combines an upbeat and inviting spirit without any background music. Welcome to Tangelic Talks, your go-to podcast from Tangelic, where we dive into the vibrant world of clean energy, development, sustainability, and climate change in Africa. We bring you inspiring stories, insightful discussions, and groundbreaking innovations from the continent making waves in the global community. Tune in and join the conversation toward a brighter, greener future. Let's get started.
Welcome to Tangelic Talks, a podcast at the intersection of energy, equity, and empowerment with your co-hosts Victoria Cornelio and Andres Tamez. In today's episode, we're talking with Kwame Sekyere. He's an environmental scientist and passionate forest restorer from Ghana. He leads the Forest Restoration for Diversity and Livelihoods Project in Asante Akyem South, supported by TerraFund for AFR 100, where he's bringing degraded forests back to life while creating sustainable livelihoods for women and youth. This is very exciting. Welcome, Kwame.
Thank you.
So, how did you get into this line of work? How does one become a forest restorator?
Hello, everyone. So I'm Kwame Sekyere, a project manager at Tropenbos Ghana. So Tropenbos is a non-governmental organization. We are a leading organization dedicated to sustainable forest management and landscape restoration. So basically, the organization was started in 2001. So it started as a program that was being implemented by Tropenbos International. So Tropenbos International is also based in the Netherlands, and then they brought this program in Ghana for first 5 years to be implemented. So when things were successful, another 5 years was also done. So after the whole 5 years, we evolved into another a full autonomous organization. That was from 2000 or 2017. So there we
Okay.
became Tropenbos Ghana. So from there, now we are into forest restoration. And then basically
Hmm.
with us, our mission is basically to influence forest policy and also enhance livelihood and as well as promote sustainable development. Yeah. So
Okay.
within the past decade, I have been in the organization basically in projects related to landscape restoration, community-driven initiatives. So that is how I have been, and then I've been supporting in terms of their community works and others. Yeah, so that is how I started the whole process. Yeah, thank you.
That's incredible. And how, like, what drew you into working on forest restoration and land use? What is it that motivates you about this kind of work?
I have a passion for communities. And also the people. When we look at our theme, we are looking at forest and people. So when you have a thriving people and thriving communities, that's also an important aspect that I really have a passion because everyone on this planet should have a purpose. So mine is to see that the communities are thriving. So in my work, when I see communities are having their basic needs met, so for them
Hmm.
what they usually need is just basically having the basic essentials,
Hmm.
alternative livelihood supported, and also they are into farming, so supporting their farming activities and others. So that
Hmm.
drives me, as an NGO supporting these activities. That's basically where um,
Can we know a little bit more about the issues that forests have in Ghana? Like, what has degraded them over the years? because every single, depending on geography, like there's so many different causes for forests to degrade, right? It's not just it, obviously humans have something to do with it, but there's also blights, global warming, like stuff like that all can affect the forest. So
Yeah,
tell us a little bit more about that.
yeah. All right. So in Ghana, basically, the forest has been degrading largely due to agricultural expansion.
Oh.
The community or the people we need to eat. So there has
Mhm.
been that expansion that is going on, and recently there is advent of illegal mining. So that is also something that is also affecting the forest, deforestation in Ghana. And then also we can also
Mhm.
talk about illegal logging. People are logging without permits and others. And then the
Right.
insecure land and also tree tenure, where farmers have no guarantee they will benefit from the trees they plant. So that's also affecting these processes. So like these are some of the things that are I can say are also causing these impacts, yeah, that we have.
So it's really hard, I can imagine, to balance what the community needs and the forest restoration and land use. So how do you guys approach that?
In order to approach what the community needs, so what we usually do is that we work hand in hand to them with them. As a non-governmental organization, when we identify a problem, we develop or design projects along these lines, and then solicit for funding. If there is a call, we include the communities that we are working with in these lines. So that's also something that we do. So once we are successful, we can draw out the challenges, through planting trees and other stuff. So that's also something that we are trying to bridge the gap that we have. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think are some of the issues that the community is facing specifically? What are some of those things that you as an organization are tackling?
One aspect that we do is more or less, some communities they have patches of land or degraded agricultural land, so we support them to grow native trees. So there, what we do is that we have some kind of a fora with them, and there we ask them, so which type of species do you want us to grow? So they will outline maybe Terminalia ivorensis, Terminalia superba, mahogany, Kaya ivorensis. These economic species. Then we will support them plant within these areas, and also in those settings, they can also say, okay, we are a farming community. So what you can do to support us is basically support us in terms of some alternative livelihoods. They can mention it like maybe a snail production, beekeeping, mushroom. So we can also through those actions also support them. There are also instances where we can also support them in terms of maybe they will say, okay, we need a borehole. You know, we can also, through those projects support them. So it depends on the specific needs. We've had instances where you might have maybe a preconceived notion that, okay, I want to give this to the community, but meanwhile, something that they might not need. So it's good that you have a dialogue with them before any intervention you give, you give them. So that has been the process that we.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's one of the amazing things when you're able to do community engagement and actually go into a community and talk to them, because we might have an idea of what the solution is, but you might not even understand the root of an issue if you don't talk to communities. So how do you approach that dialogue when you're going to start a project, when you're thinking of ideation? How do you begin that engagement?
It's the community, so it depends. There are some projects that what we do is that we implement in an already known communities. If it's a fresh community, you have to do what we call community entry. So
Okay.
there you meet the elders or the chiefs of the community.
Mhm.
So that is the first step. There. So when you engage them, then they will call the various or the respective elders, and then just in an open forum you share the objectives of whatever you want to do, and then you tell them. And then if they have any idea or the expectations, they also share with you. So
Okay.
from there, they can give you maybe a focal person within the community that, oh, you can be engaging with this person.
Mhm.
Yes, so the person can go ahead and share with you the nitty-gritties of the various actions or points that you need to know. So that has been the path that we take. It will help you, guide you. Yes,
Do you find that it's an easy process, or is there resistance entering community sometimes, or does it depend on the community?
we have had some experiences. There are some community, but largely a lot of them are very respectful. So there was some experience where we entered one community, and then the chief like was questioning us, who gave you the authority to be here, what papers do you have? But most of them, they are open, like they are respectful. So it was that incident that we found a little surprising, like
Mhm.
why are you here, like who gave you, do you get it? So because of that, the only
Sure.
outcome was for us to exempt that community. And then later the chief regretted and say, oh, but but because already it's about 60 communities that you are traveling. So if someone is showing resistance, meanwhile we are working with time. And also maybe we usually set a timeline, like 2 weeks, to comb around
Sure.
about 60 communities. So if someone is showing resistance, you just don't have to. Yeah, so that has been some incidences that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how can climate smart practices improve resilience for rural communities, especially in Africa? Is this something that we should be working on more? Is it something that has picked up lately because it is so good? Is it just a buzzword? Like, what is climate smart first? Can you help us understand that?
When we look at climate smart here, we are looking at some three main areas. So like trying to increase productivity and income, also looking at helping farmers adapt to climate change, and then reducing the greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay.
You know, if farmers are into this, at the end of the day, being having good yield and income gives you a good living
Yeah.
standard, and also the farmers' ability to also adapt, to climate change. It also helps them because there too, you know that you are always going to be in business from time to time,
Mhm.
and then by virtue of the reducing of the greenhouse gas emissions, now through various actions by climate activists, we are trying to reduce greenhouse gas emission because of the 1.5 degrees Celsius target that we all want to reach. So in so doing, you are also helping solve a global crisis. So
Yeah.
I think that that is something that needs to be taken into consideration, especially from the perspective of the farmer, that can also be considered.
And specifically with forest restoration, what role does it play in addressing both climate change and biodiversity loss?
So when we look at forest restoration, it's basically about bringing degraded land back to life. So it's not only about planting trees, but it's also about protecting the natural regeneration, and also improving soil, restoring biodiversity, and also making sure the people benefit. So here within Tropenbos, or where I work, so we have a guiding principle that restoration must start with the people. So when local communities see the value in the forest, they will also protect them. So in some of our work, we do work with some kind of a committee. We call them community resource management committees. So these are local groups. They are made up of farmers, other youth groups, women, and others. So their purpose is basically to govern their landscapes together. And this committee gives people the voice and ensure that restoration is locally owned. So it helps in that aspect that we can also share. Yeah.
And are these projects focused on training the local community to be able to carry them out as well?
In our actions, what we do most of the time is we call something training of trainers.
Hmm.
So, during project initiatives, we have leaders. So their whole purpose is that because of limited funds in donor funds or donor projects, you
Yeah.
cannot always bring all farmers on board. So what we do is that we look through and see those who are vocal, those who are able to train others, and then we select them, and then we provide them with the necessary capacities, workshops, and then we teach them. so that at the end of the day, they're able to transmit or transfer the training to their peers. So that's also something that we've been doing. So we call it training of trainers. So there, in order for these trainings to be, to be in perpetuity, we try to include extension officers or should I say government officials, so that at least they also know what is going on, so that in case the project implementers we are not there, at least the government, especially if it's about forestry, we involve the forest service division. If it's about agric, we involve the agriculture, the extension officers, so that they will be there to see what is going on, so that they can continue, because every project has a lifespan. So in our case, most of our projects 4 years once it ended. Although we put sustainability measures there, you know they need some kind of a government institution to take it up. So that's also something that we've been, yeah.
Keep it maintained, make sure that everything it's still rolling, right? What have been the like how much is there a number, like do we know a number of like the deforestation that has happened, or the effects on the forest, and like is there like any specifics, fauna, anything specific that's been affected, that like anything specific endangered or anything like that that has come from this?
So through the deforestation, what we know is that at least there are native species that are being lost in Ghana, like, and also have some fauna, because there are some specific tree species that some, especially some birds, even they require to be on. So if they are not there, they can't thrive. And also some animals, they also require some. So that is also something that is should I say something that is within or happening. So that is also something that we are trying to address. So
Yeah.
it's a thing that in Ghana too. The last time I was reading, I think let me just try to get the facts right in terms of the deforestation that we are facing, yeah, in Ghana. So I will just have to confirm the figure, because it was enormous. Because and that's why a lot of interventions are being put in place. Now there are like AFR 100 trying to restore 1 million trees in Africa. So within Ghana too, we are also part of the process, like about 2 million trees that we need to also grow or plant.
Hmm.
So these are interventions that we are also trying to do. So these are all actions that we are trying to keep the situation, because we believe that once the environment is restored, it's something that is going to benefit not only Ghanaians but the whole global world. So that is something that we are also trying to explore.
Definitely. And I think that's something that a lot of people, when we talk about forests in the climate conversation, we don't really pause to think about what that means. So, what's something you wish more people understood about forests and their power to help us fight the climate crisis?
I believe that as people, we should know that once we protect the forest, like there's a saying that when the last tree dies, the last man dies, or something. Once we protect the trees, it's our lives that we are protecting. So we should pay much attention, because if you have all the various the cash, the various necessities, and then you don't have a good air to breathe, what is the essence? Do you get it? Yeah. So like protecting the environment, because and also the forest as a whole, they serve as a carbon sink, absorbing the various carbon dioxide, that is being produced within the various parts of the world. So as part of as people, so I believe that is essential that we pay attention to our restoration needs, and in so doing, it creates some kind of a win-win situation. So just look at communities. They are fringing within the communities. All they have is their forest. That's where they have their livelihoods. So if this forest is taken away from them, what else do they have? Do you get it? So like if they are planting these trees, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
we are helping resolve a global crisis, to prevent global warming. And also these people to
Hmm.
they continually get some kind of non-forest timber products from the forest. That's also something that, and also when the trees or the forests are there, it protects water bodies. We all know that water gives life. There are a lot of people who depends on rivers within their forest, or like with the yes. So when these forests are no more, it dries them up, and then without water, living becomes difficult. So I believe that we should all pay some kind of attention, or be wary about protecting the
Mhm.
forest. And at the end of the day, it's the world in general that is being preserved, because we should not be thinking about our
Yeah.
selfish needs and those things. Yeah, so I believe that it's important that we take that into consideration. Yeah, thank you.
I really like that because it really touches on what we talk about when it comes to climate justice. It's not just about protecting nature, but also looking out for people and what they need within this holistic approach. And I like how you've explained that everything feeds into one another. So if the forest is okay, that means the rivers still flow, which means the community gets what they need. Everything's entangled, and sometimes we try to fight climate change in silos. Like this is what we should do for this and that over there, and we forget that there's a through line in all these things, and that's something that probably at COP is lost many times. So I wanted to, what what is the experience like? Is it frustrating?
Yeah, so for me personally, I have had the experience of attending about 3 COPs. So I started my journey in Egypt, and then move on to United Arab Emirates, and then Azerbaijan, and then I even have plans to also attend Brazil. Yeah. So basically, you see the passion that people have to help save the environment or the world. We've been fighting for this 1.5 degrees Celsius warming to be minimized, because above that we are going to have a warm, or a global warming that is unprecedented. So at COP, what people are trying to simply do is that we are trying to prevent global warming. So we are putting measures in place. So measures to see that those who are polluting, the polluters pay. So if you are polluting, they pay, you pay. And then those who are also conserving, they continually conserve. So in so doing, so what people are also advocating for is about climate financing. So what we know is that within the global south, we don't emit more carbon dioxide compared to the global north. So we are pushing that a lot of finances come into restoration activities, so that people will continue protecting or preserving or conserving the
Mhm.
forest. Other than that, then the global south will also say, okay, let's also cut and then develop just like what the global north has done. And then at the end of the day, is the global effect that we are going to
Yeah.
face. Do you get it? So, like, if there is a balance that, okay, the harm has already been caused, so let's try to resolve the situation. So that's why people are pushing for the balance to be
Yeah.
done. So that's also why NDC's nationally determined contributions are also being
Mhm.
employed. So governments are employed to bring out ambitious NDCs, just to see how things can be resolved. Yeah. So basically, I believe that it takes time or process. Human don't change
Yeah.
overnight. So if you want to bring a process or a
Mhm.
change, continually persisting, gradually, will bring about the
Yeah.
change. Because if you force someone into submission, definitely once the person gets freedom, the person will explode again. But if the person understands why there is need to do A, B, C, you get it. So that's what I believe the COP is doing. So gradually, I think we will get
Slowly
there,
but
and then
surely.
people will be thinking about green
Mhm.
energy, green businesses, and other stuff.
Yeah, slowly but surely. It's been 30 cops, so it is slowly but surely.
It sounds very frustrating, the process of following COP. From what I've heard from Victoria. Can we get, like, for the just normal person, like, what is COP? Like, what exactly is the, why does it exist, and what do you think it's doing something? As you were saying, right, the global north sort of tries to focus on itself. It tends to try to just, like, okay, we're gonna keep all of our resources, even though we could be focusing on the global south, and they don't emit that much. So it's sort of an easy win to help them with reforestation, to help them with green initiatives, but they sort of just tend towards wanting to stay in their own circles. A little bit more about like the goals, and do you think, do you have a positive outlook looking forward about it?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So basically so when we look at the conference of parties, so here we are looking at a periodic meeting, where government parties, or they are parties to the international conventions, such as the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or the WHO Framework Convention. They review implementation and negative effects. So basically, so it's more or less a decision making body, you know. So where supreme decision making body for a specific international treaty are made, and it's more or less an annual meeting, that is for the past 30 years, as you know that for the conference of parties, the climate change corps. So there too, parties also get opportunities to negotiate, and also advocate on objectives or whatever they want to say, and they build more or less consensus. So many COPs adapt decisions by consensus, requiring all parties to to agree. And then it's something that basically originated from the Rio Convention treaties that was developed in 1992, by the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. So basically, they aim to tackle major environmental challenges. So I believe that as we tackle this, there is definitely going to be a change. So as I rightly said, change takes
Mhm.
time. So with time, we are going to see the change being happening.
For sure.
Yeah. So
Trying to get the world on the
Mhm.
same page, and that sounds very frustrating, and it sounds like it takes
Yeah,
30 cups
because
to get the ball
yeah,
rolling.
there are a lot of also bodies, especially the super rich people. Example, if a super rich person has been gaining funds from oil and coal and others, and now all of a sudden people are telling, oh, going into green energy, they have not even have time to invest in this green energy. So that means if he's just cutting, he's looking at the loss, the immediate loss. So that's why it's taking the time. So right now, I believe they have strategic plans. They know that with time they are going to be sidelined. So they've started making investment in these green energies. So that's why it's taking the.
Yeah,
So definitely, I think they will have to move into that aspect, and then other yeah. So that's why the process is taking, because they have the power right now. They have the billions controlling the process. So that's why decisions are not abrupt. Yeah, because it's all
it's a
about
slow building pressure for the
yes.
big companies to
Yes,
just
and then
do
exactly, and
something.
then they are trying to also make adjustment to their strategies, and eventually, I think when they also align things, because at the end of the day, we want to live in a world where it's coexistent. Like it's not like everyday climate change and those
Yeah.
stuffs. Yeah, so we believe that we will get there
Mhm.
one day, but
Slowly but surely. And what's the international conversation, whether at COP or international forums, around forest restoration? Is this something that is specific to Ghana and the African continent, or is this a wider conversation that different communities around the world are engaging in?
oh yeah, like so when it comes to the general conversation, so now it's now like more or less the global north, global south. So when it comes to a global south, it's not only African. So some in Latin America, they are all part like so the whole idea is that so they are looking at nations or organizations that don't usually pollute
Okay.
through the actions. Yes. Then they are trying to compensate them because everyone needs to
Mhm.
develop. So if I'm going to develop and then you are not allowing me to cut down trees or other things, then you have to compensate
Yeah.
me. So that's why a lot of funds are flowing through restoration. Okay, the communities do restoration, then we will give you this fund. So with this fund, instead of cutting the trees to develop, you can also use it to other productive ventures. So that's why the world is spreading these funds all over. Yeah, so that's how. So it's not only within the African, but all over
Yeah.
areas. Yeah.
That is, I really like that question from Victoria, and that's a good answer because I remember, yeah, I remember there was back like 10 years ago, there was a lot of conversation about deforestation and about saving the trees. And that conversation, I feel like on the global perspective, or at least among the normal people, sort of died away, in my opinion. Like, you don't really see it that much. It sort of becomes secondary issue when it comes to environment and energy and stuff like that. So it's good to know that people are still talking about it, at the very least at the important conferences.
And there is also something about when we see forest fires, it kind of comes up again because it. I think we have a more
Yes.
holistic view of how everything is interconnected. Going back to what Kwame was saying, it's not just protect the trees, but how the trees feed into the community and the water that the communities need, and all these things. And we're gonna get nerdier in the blog, so make sure to check that out at tangeliclife.org.
Oh yes, thank you very much, Kwame, for being here. If
Yeah,
you, we are going to continue on the blog section of this with a little bit more technical information. So stay right here. Is there and if there's anything you want to add on the vlog, any links, anything you want to shout out right now, then we can go ahead and do that. Is there?
yeah. Shout out to Tropenbos Ghana. So that's where I work. So basically, let me just give something about Tropenbos. So Tropenbos is an environmental NGO. So within Ghana, we are a leading organization dedicated to sustainable forest management and landscape restoration. And then as an organization, our mission is basically to influence forest policy and enhance livelihood and also promote sustainable development. Yeah, so we do work by generating and also advocating for the application of knowledge to optimize forest benefits through participatory and collaborative approaches. Yeah, so the organization, we've been in existence since 2001, and then we've been thriving to date, and then at least basically information of looking at through forests and people. So those are the areas where our focus really lies. And also all our partners supporting us, especially the European Union, the FAO, the World Bank Group, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Netherlands, also looking at Global Share Alliance, AR 500, and all other partners, supporting us through, project intervention and others. Yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to them
it
all.
takes a village to do this.
All right. Yep. So thank you very much for joining us. We will see you in the vlog.
Yeah, all right.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye.
Let's talk power, let's talk change. From rural lights to brighter days. Equity rising, voices strong. We're building tomorrow where we all belong. Tangelic Talks, energy, equity, pride. Empowering the world, side by side. A spark becomes a fire, a vision that's true. Together we rise, it starts with you.